because of why I've always been into sports. So I did football for 6 years, then volleyball for 10 years. So growing up, I really watched UAP, like from Eliza Valdez era pa. So I remember around grade 11 or 12, I was watching a game. Then I saw like some correspondents in the Jumbotron. And then they were like former, like from the same high school as I've went to. And I was like, oh, this looks interesting and nice. So came in like first year, I actually auditioned during freshman year. But then when they got my audition video, I saw like around 2 weeks after the deadline that they were asking me to resend it because it's sent without audio. So I was 2 weeks too late, then came in second year. I auditioned again. And then I think it was while I was filming my audition video where I really knew my why, which is because I know as a former student athlete that all the work that a student athlete goes through, it's not easy. So I wanted to be the voice and the bridge of the student athletes and the audience, especially because in collegiate sports, I think we all tend to forget that those student athletes or kids as well really try to figure out life just the way I am. So especially with the pressures and expectations, there's a lot of like talk around them, but I wanted to bring the more human side so people remember that they're kids who excel in certain sports and as well as academics.
Why you choose UP or college school?
I chose UP. Well, as I've mentioned, I watched UAP. So there was a time where I remember in Philoil, it was Isa Molde and Tots Carlos era in volleyball. So I remember them entering the arena, and I was just amazed with like this aura and impact that they had in sports. Like, oh wow, they're mga taga UP. And at the same time, knowing the background of UP where they excel really well in academics. But then actually UP was never like out there like my dream school because I never thought I'd pass. So I'd always say Ateneo like that. So everyone thought I'd be an Ateneo. But then came in, I think, when I got the results, for some reason sa batch ko, UP came out first. So when I saw it, I accepted it right away. Then that's when I knew that, oh, UP's really like what's calling me, because from the stories that I hear, UP's a very vibrant and diverse community, and I knew that I fit there very well because I want to learn more as like myself and at the same time excel in academics.
Your first day as correspondent in UAAP.
I remember it was the opening. So it was UP as a host for season 87. So I remember it was Battle of Katipunan. So I was with Vixie, and one of the biggest blessings is that I got to do it with Vixie because she's actually a high school friend of mine. So it made things a lot like it was comfortable for me in a way that I knew I'm doing the first game with someone who's also doing their first game as well. So I remember it was Eraserheads performing. The game was around like 4 p.m., but we were in Araneta 11 p.m., 11 a.m. because we wanted to feel the crowd. So I remember when we were doing our makeup and all, we were both shaking and really like telling ourselves, are we actually doing this? Like we didn't know what to expect till when we were doing our first report, the pre-game report. You'd hear the cheers of Ateneo and UP, but then it's true when they say the moment you report, everything just silence. It's just you and the mic. And I think ever since that first game, I knew what to adjust and I knew what I had to work on. And that first day also reminded me why I wanted to do like this work as a correspondent and really excel more. So from there on, it was a learning journey.
How's experience as correspondent in the UAAP?
I think my experience as a correspondent has been very fulfilling because not only do I get to witness such high level competition and such amazing athletes, but I also got to build connections not only with the teams, but people in the medias as well, like from people in the prod room, my correspondent sisters, and those things, everything that I've watched, everything I've learned, it really taught me discipline and preparation. Especially like as a correspondent, you have to learn how to stay composed under pressure. So yeah, being a correspondent has been a journey of growth. Something I'd always say is that season 87, Cheska was someone who had like an imposter syndrome in a way na parang everyone else kasi they were all taking up broadcasting, communications as your major, and I'm taking up psych. So I really had to find my voice and my confidence. And I guess in season 87, Cheska, who found that voice and confidence, but is learning how to use those two in a way to really share stories that matter and at the same time would leave an impact with the audience.
You choose college course psychology.
I think chose psychology, well, mainly because before college, I'd always want to take up law after. So I saw and heard that psych is a very great course for pre-law. But at the same time, because if I don't decide to take up that path, psych is very broad in a way that you can take up HR, a corporate job, marketing, or business even. And psychology, because in UP, it's very, you can do it for law and men. So yeah, and also at the same time, I'm someone who's very curious, so it always intrigued me, like, to know why people think and feel and behave in a certain way. So I guess that's why I chose psychology. So well, right now I'm really learning a lot, and all the readings are actually very fun. So and I think all of those also helped me with the way I tell my stories and do my interviews for the players.
How you handle to be correspondent and student.
I think one of the biggest factor why I was able to balance being a student and a correspondent is because growing up, I've been a student athlete, so I know what works for me. And the biggest thing is really managing my time. So I always make sure to prioritize my academics while also preparing ahead for my games. Although it gets challenging, but one thing I always go back to when there are times where I start questioning everything, I really remind myself like why I started. And I think with that, it really keeps me grounded and focused. So that's why I always make sure to just try to manage everything and balance both. Because at the same time, the job that we do, it doesn't really feel like a job, especially because for me, I love and I enjoy it. So it's something I really look forward to.
How's your life as an athlete before?
I think being an athlete, it was really a great foundation for me in a way that it taught me so many great values like discipline, teamwork especially in a way also na I learned how to make pakisama with people, different people, and that helped me not only as a correspondent, but the way I got to like build rapport also with the teams, which is very important as a correspondent, and also resilience because I think that being an athlete, as we know, there's a lot of pressure, and that also goes as being a correspondent. So that helped me handle. It helped me to handle the pressure that I feel today. And also it helps me relate more, being an athlete to like how the players are now, like how I interview them so I know what they go through and all.
Your most underrated UP player in basketball and volleyball?
I'd say the most underrated player from last season, maybe Miguel Enriquez, right? Because I remember the first game he had last season, which was first round against NU, where I think it was a close match, and at the same time, NU hasn't lost the game, and we were coming from a two game losing streak, and then Coach Gold brought in Miguel Iniguez, who really delivered and performed really well, given that it was his first game in the UAP. And yeah, I remember reporting the next day that he was a magic bunot. And from then on, every time Coach Gold would put in Miguel mix into the court, it was quality minutes. And yeah, and really, I would say he's a player to look out for the next few seasons. And then for volleyball, I don't know if she's underrated, but I'd say Jana Gajero. I mean, because she was a second sem recruit who everyone waited for. But in second sem it was always Cassie Doncario like that. But now, Jella really stepped into that role as being a scorer the past few games. And I'd say she's also a player to look out for because you can see how much she wants to win each game, and she's scored a lot of points in the past few games. And, you can see it also in the way pinapalo nyo yung bola. It's like with passion and with heart.
What is difference interview with volleyball and basketball?
From my experience, I would say the pacing of the interviews are different. Because basketball, it's so much faster and more intense. So, and at the same time, because you're guys, so your questions have to be direct. And at the same time, you have to have a lot of follow-up questions because there are some players, I mean, some of them are isang tanong, isang sagot, which I've tried to learn how to really expound their answers or really formulate my answers in a way that would make them talk more. And actually, that thing itself, that's what I love because it challenged me to really bring out like information from them. And I think volleyball naman, given that they're girls, we all know they're much more expressive. And at the same time, kasi I know the way volleyball works, so it's easy for me to converse with them in a way like volleyball language. When I see them do some drills like, oh, nag-spike receive kayo or butterfly, I get to incorporate it. And at the same time, the interviews were more conversational because I don't know, it was easier also to connect with them and be friends with them. Not that I'm saying basketball was hard, but the girls were a lot easier to interview. And yeah, I guess depending on the sport or on the person itself, you really learn how to adjust your interviews. Dream actually has always been to be a lawyer. So I guess I would lean towards that because it's always been something that has intrigued me, and I see my relatives also like I hear stories, so that's why I want to be in. I feel like everything I've experienced now is also going to be helpful for that.
Last question, top 5 best UP athlete all time.
Top five. Oh, this is tough. Of course, number one would always be JD Kabalangan. I mean, my is a legend in UP basketball, especially his step back three-pointer in season 84, and also bringing back the championship in 87. And then another one I'd say also would be Francis Lopez. I mean, even if his career in UP was cut short because he decided to go into pros, I think he really left the mark not only for the UP community but also the team. He showed great athleticism and yeah, just amazing highlights and standout performances. And then for volleyball naman, I would see both Tots Carlos and Lisa Molde. I mean, that was a time that UP was about to enter in Final Four, and I remember that's when UP volleyball was also at its peak before this season. And they're really like when I ask players as well from UP now, they're also the probably Jerry Badias. Because in his time as a captain, he brought the team to the finals and all throughout his UAAP career. And at the same time, he's left the great mark of not only as a player, but as a leader as well. And I think that's something players now could really look up to.
Thank you for watching.